में महज कहानी का हिस्सा माना जाता था, उसकी नींव नहीं.
Absolutely, and you guessed it right. This is the cinema Shakti that we have for you. The arm candy at that time and the damsel in distress has made way for the women-oriented films. While that move was a welcome step, branding cinema steered by a woman as niche didn't do as much justice to the talented drivers of the venture. But today, there's a whole lot of creative acumen of women in cinema and content who have reshaped the industry, led the charge, and driven narrative changes. They are the sheroes or the heroes, I must say, that India has begun to dote on. But before I invite a very special guest on the stage today, let me please invite our colleague Shireen Bhan back on the
Well, I can see that we've got a couple of tables full of your fans right here, Shradha. But for those of you who haven't followed her career as closely as her fans have, let me very quickly take you through her journey so far. You've been in the industry for a little over 10 years now?
I think so.
You think so?
I think so.
Does it feel much longer?
Because, you know, sometimes it feels like, literally on every film, it feels like, okay, I've not done this aspect of being an actor, I've not done that aspect of being an actor. So every film feels like a debut in some way or the other. So my makeup artist and dear friend, Shradha Nayak, who's also here, because she's been with me for the few years that I've been around, we keep fighting about who knows how many years it's actually been. So yes.
So what's the average that the two of you have arrived at between the both of you?
I think it's been about 12 years.
Yeah. So I was right. I said a little over 10 years. So you've spent a little over 10 years in the movie business. But you've grown up around the movie business. Your father is an actor. We just heard from your illustrious aunts, and of course your cousin is here within the hall as well, watching you. So you've grown up around the movies. Did you ever consider wanting to do or be anything else, or this was it?
This was it, because this is what I grew up seeing in my household. I've grown up with the maternal side of my family predominantly, where I have my maushis, I have my grand aunt, I had my nana, who's was a very well-renowned classical musician. So I've grown up in a family of basically family members being in the creative arts. So for me, it's all that I knew. And it was a natural fit to get into the same field. But I have to say that, you know, when you're in school and a lot of people tell you ki, you know.
Oh my God, you really have a fan club right here in the room.
I mean, they're the best. You know, there's so much love that I get from my well-wishers and my fans. It just overwhelms me all the time. So I have to say that, for me, you guys threw me off track now.
You were narrating an incident from school.
And fully threw me off track. But I have to say that, see, I don't remember where I was at.
Should I switch the question? Okay, let's do a retake. I
mean, the only thing that should throw anybody off is love and adulation. So that's great.
Well, you know, I hope you continue to get as much love and adulation as you are getting this evening. But let me ask you this. Now you remember.
I remembered. Okay, I'm not going to look there right now. But you know, जब हम school में जाते हैं and people tell you in school that, if your family member is a doctor or any other field or an actor, you naturally have this rebellious side to you where you say, no, I'm not going to go into the same field. So I naturally had the same side to me where when people would tell me, you're going to be an actress, of course you're going to be an actress. And I'd be like, no, I'm not. But deep down, I always wanted to be. And it just organically happened that I developed a passion for it as well.
And you know, you've spent the last 12 years now doing what you love doing. But what I want to understand from you, Shradha, is, and you know, as a young person, as a young woman specifically, getting into the movie business, even though you're familiar with it, you're comfortable with your environment, did you always feel the need that you needed to conform to what an actress is supposed to look like, how an actress is supposed to be? You know, was that always, did that constrain you, at least in the first few years, where it was hard for you to maybe express who you really were? Did you bring your authentic self to the set, or were you trying to play a part even in real life?
That's a very interesting question, and I have to say that the way that you think starts in your household. And your perspective to life and the way that you look at life starts at a very young age. So I feel so proud to say that I come from a household where my brother and I, we were treated equally. For us, I was never told कि अरे, you know, आपकी मासी एक औरत है और देखो उन्होंने क्या कामयाबी पाई है लाइफ में, औरत बन के उन्होंने कामयाबी पाई है. So that was never a thought in my household. It was, okay, my father has achieved great things for himself. My Masi has achieved great things for herself. You should also strive to be like that. So having been brought up in that manner, I have to share that when my first films didn't do well, there were a lot of people who were telling me that, oh, you know, as an actress, if your first two films don't do well, then you know, you will never get any films and you will... There were a lot of people around me who said that, but I did not have that in my household. And I feel like that was such a strong foundation for me. And a lot of my thinking came from the conversations that I've had at home. Be it, to answer your question, I would say that it wouldn't strike me that an actress has to be a certain way or has to behave a certain way, because I'm very happy that my foundation made me think very normally, very differently, that it applies to both genders.
Yeah, and how much of that has impacted the choices that you've made when we talk about the roles that you've done and the movies that you've decided to take on? And I'll ask you this in the context of Stree, and I don't know how many of you remember, but I believe that there's a Stree 2 coming as well. But for you to play a ghost, and a ghost that preys on men, I mean, not too many women would have, would have wanted to play that part. So, how much of the choices that you make in terms of the parts that you accept in the movies that you take on is conscious and deliberate, and how much of it is just organic?
You know, I don't think I've spoken about this when we were promoting Stree, but there was a very, I'm actually very grateful to my director, Amar Kaushik, and my producer, Dinesh Vijan. I'll tell you why. Because when Stree was offered to me, they offered it to me as a cameo. They offered it to me as a special appearance. And I just was so amazed and so entertained with the premise of the film being about having a larger social message in an entertaining manner, that I requested them that, you know, can I be a part of the cast, and actually, can this not be a special appearance? I don't want to feel that this is a special appearance. And they completely agreed to that.
Well, it changed the whole movie then.
And I feel like for me to be a part of that, to be the front runner, to be right there, proudly being on the poster of that film and being right in the front, I felt that I'm proud of this film because for filmmakers to touch upon, as I said, social causes, social conversations in an entertaining manner, I don't know how many of them do it very successfully.
You know, you said something interesting here. You said that you had a conversation with the director and the producer and said that it shouldn't be a cameo, that it should be a much larger role. And that resulted in a completely different movie. But how much say do you have as an actor, or for the lack of a better term in this context, as an actress to dictate what the story should be or how the part should be played out, what layers the character should have? How much say and space do you find that you get?
You know, Shireen, actually, when you start meeting people for a film, or you start hearing a film, you start interacting with producers, you start interacting with the makers, very early on in the meetings, and I've started figuring this out, I can gauge how they are seeing a character. I can gauge, okay, they're seeing this character to be a significant character in the film. I can see that they're going to treat the character equally to the male character or other characters in the film. You can gauge that, or rather, I've started to be able to gauge that now.
Have you ever walked away if you felt that it wasn't going to be a fair balance between what they were telling you and what the part would eventually look like?
Absolutely. I absolutely have. And I feel like that it's my responsibility to do that, because I feel that the audience that I have built for myself now, they would not want to see me in parts where there isn't a strong layer to that part. So I feel like I'm responsible towards them as well. So there are a lot of no's that I've been saying. And I think that also happens after you, for me personally, after I've also become clear and I had a clear gauge of, okay, the kind of work that I want to do. So as I was saying that early on, you can gauge how collaborative a team is going to be.
Yeah.
And I actually want to share this, or rather share this with my colleagues or my contemporaries as well, is that you can gauge an energy in a meeting. You can gauge an energy with the producer. You can gauge an energy with the director. If you feel that your character is not going to get the same kind of respect or is not going to be treated in a way or portrayed in the right way, then be aware of that. And take your time to ask the questions. You know if your questions are going to be answered. You know that if you get an energy, okay, this will be collaborative, then watch out for a collaborative effort.
Watch out for the red flags and don't be afraid to ask the questions, and don't be afraid to walk away if it's not aligned with what you're looking for.
Absolutely. Watch out for the red flags in a meeting. Gauge, don't be in a rush to say yes to a film. Ask your questions, know if it's collaborative or not, and then go ahead.
So, you know, you talked about wanting to play parts that have layers. What is the part that you would like to play? What do you aspire to play? Is there a movie, is there a role, you know, domestic or global, that you aspire to do?
You know, I feel that we're at a great time for women in cinema right now, with films like Gangubai, with Razi, with Neerja. There's Manikarnika. Some of them are blockbusters, some of them not. There would be Hasina, which is my film. There would be Thalaivi. There are so many films. So I feel that people are making these films. And people are on the lookout of strong female characters, strong stories that can be told. So frankly, I feel that because we are at a good space right now, I would be open to any interesting story, because I think that there are so many interesting stories of women out there.
You know, you talked about the fact that we're seeing this change where women are now getting the leading role. So in a sense, they're playing the heroes of a film. And not being relegated to sort of the, you know, the song and dance aspect of it. How much of this change is because, you know, you've got the OTT platforms now, so there is a different kind of content that the audience is getting used to? How much of it is the fact that, you know, this is an aspirational country with a young population, and so choices for that audience, you know, is different, and they're willing to experiment with the kinds of content that they consume? What do you believe has led to this change that we're seeing, where women are being portrayed so differently than what we're used to?
You know, there is this conversation about whether film is a representation of society or vice versa. And frankly, I feel it's a conversation. I don't think that we can land up at a conclusion about it. I can comment on what I've observed. I do feel that even before the entire OTT wave came on, we've had films like Neerja, we've had films released before where they have been about, women being the central character. So I also feel like, a lot of the times I hear that people say that, on OTT you can experiment, but I don't entirely agree with that. I feel like we have seen some massive theatrical releases.
That's right.
So I don't agree with that particularly. I feel that it's also about the market in some way, if I may say so.
Yeah.
I also feel that that has a role. It also
Absolutely.
has to do with times. There are different topics, there are different social topics
Yeah.
which are of relevance. Back in the day, we didn't have touchscreen phones. We
Yes.
didn't have people watching content on their phones.
Yes.
The allure of going to a theater was very different. I don't remember when exactly touchscreen phones came, but I didn't have a touchscreen phone. I remember that.
Well,
So
they've been around for a while now, so.
and they've been around for a while, but
Yeah.
I remember that I had the button phone
Yeah.
as one of my first phones.
Yeah.
And so I feel that cinema also changes with the times.
And with technology, and with the fact that we now have single screens and multiplexes coexisting,
Absolutely.
and that has changed the way that people
Absolutely,
consume their movies.
absolutely.
You know,
Yes.
speaking of phones and speaking of technology, what has also changed is the fact that you now have social media. I don't know how many of you know this. She has 85 million followers on Instagram. Is that the last count?
I don't remember exactly, but it's 80 plus.
It's 80 plus, so 80 million followers on Instagram. Who is the real Shradha Kapoor? Is what we see on Instagram the real Shradha Kapoor?
100%. Absolutely, that's me. I love sharing when I'm having my poha. I love sharing when I'm enjoying my cup of chai in my little cup, which I'm so attached to that every day I'm like, is my cup okay? Is my cup okay? The polish of my cup is coming off, but I still want to share. And people know that, I love sharing that. What else? What did I have for dinner? I love sharing.
Is there
That-
is there such a thing as oversharing, or you don't believe that there's any concept of oversharing?
I feel very, very fortunate for the kind of relationship that I've developed with my well-wishers and fans. I'll be very honest with you. I think it's extra special, if I may say so. We have like-minded thoughts. Even when I go out somewhere and someone tells me, I have the same handbag that I saw in your post, and we discuss, someone will say that, I have the same trousers that you have or the same kurta that you have. And it's so nice. It's so nice to feel like one big happy family.
Yeah.
And it's,
But what about the mystery and the mystique and the aura? I mean, before Instagram and before social media, you knew very little about the personal lives or behind the scenes or what an actor or an actress were like. And that perhaps that mystique and that mystery perhaps elongated their careers as well. Do you believe that that is the case, and perhaps this need to constantly put things out about yourself and share as much as you do takes away from that?
I feel like we hear this conversation happen very often, but I really wonder, say in the 1950s, if they had Instagram, would they not use it? I'm wondering, right? Would they not use Instagram if they had touchscreen phones and the OTT platforms? Would they be like, no, I'm not going to watch something on my phone? I wonder. So I feel, again, we go back to that conversation about changing times and technology, and basically, the only constant is change, right?
Yeah.
It's pretty much that. I do feel that from my personal experience, my relationship with my fans has been enhanced to a whole other level being on social media.
Because of the immediacy of the contact as well as the access that
Absolutely.
you've been able to give them. So you do control the
Absolutely.
narrative and you control your own story as
And
well.
I have to tell you that the kind of joy that I feel when I'm reading their DMs or when I get to go on.
Do you read them or do you have a social media manager?
I read them, and I have to say that I have to tell myself, okay, how much has my screen time been today? I have to look at that as well. But it's all me, and I have to tell you that the joy that I get when I read DMs and when I read comments and I get to interact on comments, and you really know what someone is thinking. You know, I don't know how much of that existed because
Yeah.
I would imagine that stardom was also a lot more sheltered, perhaps.
Yeah.
To a certain degree,
Yeah.
is my imagination of it. Um, so I have no qualms in the era that I'm in, and I'm embracing it wholly and solely.
Yeah, clearly, with 85 million followers, it clearly shows that you're embracing it. But you know, that's the good and the bad side of this. So the good is that you're getting all of this adulation and love immediately from your fans, and they're responding to you pretty much in real time. But you can also have a situation where you have people not say very nice things to you because anonymity provides that safety to say whatever you want to say without any consequences. How do you deal with that?
I apply the same kind of thinking that I've been brought up with, which is perspective, which is what you pay attention to grows. If you believe, if I focus on the love and adulation, and if I focus on also trying to hope that when I share candid aspects of my life, maybe someone is going to get inspired in some way also. So I focus on that very, very frankly. And I feel that that is something that I use also as my strength.
Well, you know, speaking of strengths and things that you're looking forward to, and people that you worked with, who do you look up to as the iconic sort of star that inspires you? And from your peer group, you know, is there a peer that you feel more connected with or connected to in terms of the kind of work that they do? So icon and peer.
I have so many people I look up to. So many icons that I look up to. I have them in my own household. I admire them for the way that they've brought me up to begin with. And of course, the kind of work that they've done has been phenomenal. In my peer group, there's so many people doing such good work. I recently watched Rocky or Rani Ki Prem Kahani, and I absolutely loved Alia in it. I thought that she was extremely effortless, so natural, an absolute delight to watch, and I thoroughly enjoyed watching her.
Well, okay, so that's one big point there for Alia Bhatt in her latest movie. But, you know, I can't let you go. And again, she's a woman with many talents. One is, of course, that she's a beautiful singer. And I've been told by everybody in my producing team that we have to get you to end with a song. Wherever you like. It could be your favorite song. It could be a song that embodies your journey in the movie business so far, or what you hope to do in the movie business in the future.
Are we already at the end of our chat, though?
We are, unfortunately, good things don't last too long, unfortunately. So we are at the end of our chat, unfortunately.
Okay. So this is when I'm supposed to sing?
This is where you're supposed to sing. Do you want me to say action?
Should I? Okay, I'm seeing we're playing dumb charades. You guys only tell me, what should I sing?
On
Will
popular
you sing
demand.
with me? Pakka. Promise. Pakka wala promise.
You look at them, they're dying, they're waiting for you to start.
Okay. तू मेरी नींदों में सोता है, तू मेरे अश्कों में होता है, सरगोशी सी है ख्यालों में, तू ना हो फिर भी तू होता है. Okay, I went थोड़ा आगे, so we'll sing the chorus together. तेरी गलियां मुझको भावे, गलियां तेरी गलियां. यूं ही तड़पावे गलियां तेरी गलियां. Thank you so much.
Shradha Kapoor, thank you for being such a wonderful sport, and thank you so much for sharing your life story, your life's journey, but more importantly, your dreams and aspirations with us here on this platform. Ladies and gentlemen, a big round of applause
Thank you.
for
Thank you,
Shradha
everyone.
Kapoor.
Thank you so much, Shradha. And Shireen, I'd also request you, Shradha, please stay on stage. There's a memento that is waiting for you.
श्री शक्ति का हिस्सा बनने के लिए और अपना कीमती वक्त देने के लिए श्रद्धा बहुत बहुत सेशन आगे आपका इंतजार कर रहा है, जो हम सभी की जिंदगी का एक अटूट हिस्सा बन चुका है.
Ladies and gentlemen, Shradha Kapoor, thank you so much.